Welcome back to the channel. This is Probrickie on the Probrickie exclusive channel. Please subscribe, guys. We want to get the subscriptions up with another female horror story, and this one's a doozy. If you haven't already subscribed, guys, subscribe to the channel and support the work that we're doing to try and help guys get through some of the trouble that they're having with women. And here's another case of how I ruined my marriage. Despite wanting to lay the blame on my partner, if I'm honest, I too played a part in ruining my marriage. Perhaps my experience can serve a lesson for all, by Elizabeth Clean. Not a very pretty picture there, is it? And let me say, guys, a lot of women that leave their partners do regret it. They go on to regret it. They bounce from cock to cock on the cock carousel. They end up on the carousel all on their own. Men don't want to tolerate them. They end up with pets and snakes and reptiles and cats, minks, ferrets, and all different kind of things, horses. You'd be surprised what they'll end up with to try and replace the man, but you can't replace a man, can you? Women say they've got values, but so too, guys, equally has a man. Man has equal value to a woman. And in this day and age, they're trying to take that away. So with that said, guys, please again, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. And we'll get into this female horror story with Probrickie. How I ruined my marriage. I've given plenty of thought, obsessive amounts of thought, to my partner's role in the demise of my marriage. But as I am learning and relearning, there is always more than one side to each story. What happens, guys, when the initial chaos or impact of what's going on in the marriage goes into battle, you're not going to get much sense out of a woman with scorn. And their rationale goes right out the window. I've seen this a couple of times. I've experienced it a couple of times. You don't even know the person. The person that you married or who you're with, you don't even know them. Something happens to them and they just change. And it's horrible because everything's going along fine, and the next minute the arse is falling out of everything, be it hormonal or some problem. No excuse if you've caused it, but if you haven't caused it and you're trying to manage this crap, it's so hard, man, and you can't. You just got to watch everything collapse around you, down around you, and usually it culminates in them being fucked by another bloke or who knows where in the arse, or, well, I don't know how it all works, but this is what happens. And I think when a woman does go into scorn and they've made their mind up that they're going to leave, I think they do in a lot of ways get not just pleasure but relief out of being in bed with another bloke, because they let out all their resentment and stuff, but they don't give a shit about who it affects, and this is not good. And what we're seeing here, guys, is that the grass isn't greener on the other side. The grass isn't greener on the other side. It's as simple as that. And 8 to 9 out of 10 of these women regret ruining their marriages because they have much more value in a marriage, even if they don't feel that way at the time of wrecking it, than what they do out in the paddock with the rest of the cows or goats or sheep or llamas, whatever you want to call them. Just remember, llamas spit. The only time I've seen a Sheila spit, it's on her hand for certain reasons. But nevertheless, she says, I've given plenty of thought to what the husband done, and now she's having second thoughts about her role in it. And this is what happens, guys. If you get into a blue with your missus or your wife, the best thing you can do, your girlfriend or you, whatever it is, the best thing you can do, I'm telling you, is to limit your communication and your presence. Shut up, don't fight, and don't get in their face. Give them time to think, because when you give them time to think and they reflect on what's actually happened, it could take a couple of months, they usually will come to their senses. It's like a bushfire going through, wrecking everything, and then after it's all gone, things start to re-sprout and stuff like that. Trees start to come back, things start to grow again. That's what happens in a woman's mind. But we're too hasty. We want things fixed straight away, and that's not how it works. Not everything's McDonald's. Not everything's going to be fixed immediately. And one of the great skills of conflict in relationships and marriage, if you really want to listen to me, is to go no contact. Now, women will do this automatically, but they'll do it in the form of bitchiness. You can do it in the form of constructiveness, and the reason why you go no contact is so you can work on yourself, to heal yourself and better yourself while they're sorting their shit out, because sometimes, mate, it's just not going to come out the other side. And you've got to be in a mindset where a selfish mindset, where you go, I really can't help this person, the mind that they're in, it's nothing new under sun, but I can help myself while all this is happening, because they won't care at that point whether you live or die. It's not until they come to their senses later, like this woman has, that they start to realise that possibly it was their fault for their part of it. They begin to become accountable and responsible. What they do about it's another thing. Usually everything's wrecked by this time. But I'm guaranteeing you guys, don't think that if you've been hurt or wrecked by somebody that they just walked away without a conscience. One thing we can't escape, doesn't matter how long we try, is our conscience. Then she says, within each of these three sides, there's, hang on a sec, I just got to go back. In fact, I believe there are three sides. Yours, mine, and God's. Now, look, guys, for the most part, with my theological background, I believe in God right out of this, and the devil as well. It's no different to starting to call people narcissists and everything. You can start off with a Sheila and you're the greatest thing in the world. Why is it that you always end up the narcissist? Is it you that's deteriorating or her? Well, that comes down to a matter of fact, doesn't it? And each different case. But you want to make sure, as you're going along in the relationship, that you don't give these people a reason to start labelling you these types of things, because, as we all know, narcissism is the new cop-out for females that are dysfunctional. That's the way in which they blame shift the behaviour. But what women need to start to realise is the courts and solicitors and attorneys and all these, they're onto this now. So then with each of those three sides, there's also a perception of each, your perception of each, and again, the truth. And you know what? Unfortunately, the truth very rarely comes out. The woman gets favour, and again, we come back to equality. They want equality, but then they want fucking partiality when there's a breakup. And the courts will give them that if you get the wrong judge on the day. I'm sorry, it's just how it goes. They try, but they very rarely get it right, because women have got a fantastic way of being the victim. Women, when they get in this mindset, go into what's called what's it called again? I've lost the word, but it's a victimism. It's a perpetual victimism. So here goes my perception of my part. So this woman's going to lay herself bare. I got married too young. All right, so straight off the bat, she got married too young. In other words, she wasn't psychologically, physiologically, or mentally prepared for what she was getting herself into. I got married when I knew I shouldn't, because, here we go, straight away. A, I felt the spirit nudging, and B, others had counselled me not to. So she was a rebel. She had to have what she wanted despite wisdom. And who's going to pay the price for that, guys? The husband. Right, once married, I yelled a lot. Straight off the cuff. I would have sacked her straight away. I was cruel and self-serving and critical with my words. Probably daily. Oh, mate, this is a horror story. I haven't rehearsed this, guys. And this is what they do. I'm telling you, I don't... Look. I don't recommend marriage these days. There's too much against you. I take nothing away from the genuineness of people's love and all that. But if you've got assets like I have, you've got too much to lose. It's too complicated. Why let some Sheila into your life that could change the complaint of a child or a relative or something fucking stupid, or she meets another bloke, only to lose everything you've got? See, when you get married, you're not marrying the person. You're marrying the government. Let me say that again. When you get married, you're already married to the person, but you're signing yourself over legally to the government, because the government will divvy up what you've got if it goes skew-if. And it's a very vulnerable situation to find yourself in. The last woman I was married to, I'd never touch your children's inheritance. I would never do that to you. Like fucking hell, when push come to shove, she couldn't get enough. And it's sad and it's ugly, but this is the nature of some people. This is what they do. I didn't serve enough. Good God. I looked out for number one and tried to protect her, Akka, me. So she's very transparent. This is showing you inside what I call a woman that is a bully. There's a lot of these females that have become male very young. They may as well have a dick. And they try and play the masculine role in the relationship only to make the guy feminine. If he's got any balls, he'd just kick her out from the start. But that doesn't happen. And the woman becomes the bloke, and the bloke becomes the woman. I've seen 6'6", 6'4", massive guys being the bitch in their marriages, going, "You're man, you're in for the big. You are going to get smashed." And sure enough, they do. They end up with fucking nothing. And I didn't build him up enough. No, because she was too busy building herself up. See, I looked out for number one. They're very selfish. I didn't respect him. Oh my God. Guys, this is a horror story. Let me take a moment with this one. I used to argue that once I felt he deserved disrespect, I began to disrespect him. As soon as a woman disrespects you, I'm coming up on this, as soon as a woman disrespects you, kick her to the curb. Straight away. She's done. She's finished. You never accept, unless you bring it on your bloody silly self, disrespect. Because once you allow it, it won't stop. I began to disrespect him. I now believe that there are two kinds or levels of respect. There is earned respect, 100%, and there is role expected respect. Now, I've never heard that before. You might want to write that down. There is earned respect, and there is role expected respect. That's very wise, isn't it? Very wise words. There is earned respect that you earn, that's to be rewarded, and then there is role respect, the respect we pay to one another because of the role that we're in. For instance, I might not respect President such and such, but if he walked into the room, you better believe I'd stand and probably clap just because of his role. Now, that's a brilliant example, because these days it's gotten so bad. You've got the Lydia Thorpes and these ones, these just horrible people that have got into the Senate. She wouldn't even stand there with respect and be sworn in with any respect. I don't even know why they allowed her to go through. And then you've got these people that just will not respect what doesn't suit them when they very well should. And this is where it's come to... See, the Bible says to respect your mother and father. It doesn't mean to be abused by them, but just by virtue of the fact that they brought you into the world, you should respect them. Now, if they lose that respect through abuse or whatever else they might do, that's their bad luck. But you can see what she's saying. So, if for nothing else, I withheld role expected respect. So she didn't play her role as a wife in the dimension of respect. And this happens all the time, guys, all the time. And I'm going to tell you, if you're being disrespected, you need to confront it immediately, as wisely and as fairly as you can. And if it goes on, kick it out. Kick that person out. As soon as I was disrespected in my marriage, we never had an argument. I let it go for 4 weeks and she was kicked out. Kicked her out. You cannot tolerate disrespect because it's like a whirlpool. Once you get sucked into it, there's no way back out and you'll just be a bitch. I prayed for him and I prayed for us, but I didn't do so enough. Well, this is the thing. My granddad used to say, guys, pray to God, but row for shore. He was out of the Navy. Obviously, he's talking about a lifeboat scenario. You can sit in the lifeboat and pray to God, but if you don't row for shore, it makes no difference. And that's why at the start of this, and I haven't rehearsed this, you're best leaving God and the devil out of these sort of situations because it's human by origin and human by conclusion, and it has to be human by resolve. And she said that she prayed for him and for us, but not enough. She didn't. She said back here, look, this is how confused they get. Once married, I yelled a lot. I was cruel and self-serving and critical with my words, probably daily. I looked out for number one and tried to protect her, aka me. I didn't serve enough and I didn't build him up enough. So where's prayer got anything to do with that? Can you see what I'm saying? These God people have, and I remember this as a minister, it used to make me furious. They've got a strange lack of accountability and responsibility, and they hide it under the guise of God this, God that, blah, blah, blah. I couldn't stand it. Now things take a slightly different turn. The above list I knew was messing up all the time. The list that follows are things that I didn't know how to do anything differently until it was too late. These things used to not feel like things I was doing wrong. Now that's a very interesting sentence, guys, in this horror story, female horror story. The things used to not feel like things I was doing wrong. So the wrong she was doing didn't feel like her to be wrong, but it was wrong, and he would have been telling her, but she wouldn't have been listening. Number one, boundaries. I had no boundaries, and you'll find this now in the dating market with the single mothers. They've got no boundaries between themselves and their children. And the children interfere, and the children don't want some strange bloke around giving their mother attention and affection because it's taken the mother away from them. It's not DNA, and there's just natural territorial wars that go on between the boyfriend and the children and the mother. And you don't know what happens behind closed doors. She's probably getting hounded and pounded by them while you're not there. Get rid of him. He's no good. What are you doing with him? Where did you find him? He's a bad person. You know, I've seen all this. I've experienced it. Most mothers at the start will put up with it, but then when the fad wears off, they go with the children. You've got to understand, guys, single mothers are never alone. They don't need the man as much as what they want to be able to be the mother of their children. You're just filling the gap between the mother and the children. And I'll be honest with you, it doesn't even matter if the children are grown adults. You've got to accept that the children will beat you in the end, unless she's some kind of special woman from freak woman that just knows about boundaries, because a lot of them are boundaryless. I had no boundaries. I was needy, beyond needy, a black hole of need, to quote my pastor, religious woman. And so I would take any and all attention, and even from other men. I even stirred things up into arguments because yucky attention was better than no attention at all. There's a big clue. And this has got to do with guys that are too kind. Women like drama, and they'll take yucky drama. They'll take yucky attention rather than no attention at all. And that's why you guys that don't cause drama get dumped, because they get bored. This is gold, this statement. I even stirred things up into arguments because yucky attention was better than no attention at all. This isn't a very healthy woman, and this is a religious woman. And this is showing you what was going on in her psyche while the marriage was going down the drain. This bloke had no chance. Number 2, accountability. This is the big problem today. Not many women are accountable. Or men, for that fact. And you need to learn that art. It's an ancient art. It's got to do with responsibility. You cannot have responsibility really without accountability. It's not genuine. Things were going on that were outright sinful and wrong. Oh, did we have another man? I didn't call him on it. I used to think that wasn't my job, but the job of another man. I now realise that is part of a partner's job. That's what a helpmate should do. Gently, of course. So they weren't confronting the issues, and the issues confronted them. Number 3, help. I asked for help, a ton. But then when I didn't get it, I stopped. Well, I wonder why she didn't get help. Maybe she didn't need it. I've seen a lot of lazy women come to their mother for fucking help. The mother's going around there and washing up the dishes and everything else when she needs to be doing shit at her own house, while this daughter or whatever she is sitting on her ass thinking that the world owes her something. And I'm sure many of you have experienced this as well. But then when I didn't get it, I stopped. I crawled back into my shell and tried to keep wading through. Now, a lot of them go back into their shell and sulk. And things build up, and the next thing the bloke's got the shits and the washing ain't done and they're not getting fed. The place is a shithole, and they never should have got married because they were never ready. And I say this even though we went to 9 counsellors. No. You can't counsel the rebellion out of a woman. The instinctual nature of rebellion in a woman cannot be counselled out. It's just got to run its course, and the devastation that it leaves behind is what it is. You cannot counsel a rebellious woman. It's a waste of time. I know from experience. You're better off just letting the fire burn and cleaning up the mess, if it's your problem, at the end of it, because you're really not going to get anywhere. And I'd say this even though we went to 9 counsellors. Who was paying for all that? And met with other couples, and I read a bunch of marriage books. But see, none of this is going to help the rebel inside. You can meet with other couples. You can even have fucking, what's that called again? Swingers. You can even go to swingers groups if it's a sexual problem. It ain't going to fix the rebel within. And they went to 9 counsellors. Who knows how many couples they would have given the shits to, and read a bunch of marriage books. Can't help the rebel. Will not hurt the rebel. Help the rebel. The only way you can help the female, dark side of female nature, is to let it turn in on itself. And that doesn't usually happen till long after everything's ruined and destroyed. I never spoke the full truth until 4 months before we ended up separating. And when I did, when I literally laid our marriage out on the table at a local dinner for another couple from church, I said what I should have said 10 years before. I'm not saying I'm sinless. No, we know you're not. You've shown us. And if you thought you were mistaken. But I'm saying this is wrong and I can't do this anymore, and I'm begging you to help me. There's more, I'm sure. But because remember, this is just my perception of my part in it all. There is still my soon-to-be ex-spouses, and more importantly, there's how God sees me in all of this. God couldn't care less about all of this. He gave you the opportunity to be married. You blew it, and he moves on, and so should you. So there you have it. In case I ever gave the impression that I thought I was the victim in a hit-and-run marriage, I wasn't. And a lot of women are admitting this now. A lot of women are realising that they just didn't have the character and knowledge and upbringing to be able to know what even a marriage meant. Incredible. I was a full participant in our destruction, not dysfunction. But I'm beyond grateful to say that there's hope now, that healing is coming, that I sense joy. They never get over it. Hang on a sec. They never get over it. They have to heal for the rest of their lives. That I sense joy so much more than I have in years and years. I messed up, absolutely, and fuck the consequences by the sound of it. But then there's Jesus to clean me up and stand me up on my feet again. And he is. Jesus was there the whole time, guys. He was there the whole time, and she couldn't have cared less. She was a pain in the ass. She was a problem. She was a nuisance. She was a bully. And I think that's a picture of her there. There. And she's a pretty well-off woman by the sound of that. So there you go, guys. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and like the video. This will come up as a premiere on the 25th. It'll come out at 3:45 when everyone's heading home. It gives them a chance to watch the videos. But that was a real horror story. That, I mean, they just go on. They leave the mess behind them and go on. Underneath, they think they're a victim, but they're the victim of their own demise. And don't you be the victim of your demise. Please don't. This is Probrickie on the Probrickie exclusive channel. Subscribe, press the bell for more of this content. Another female horror story, guys, with Probrickie. Bye for now.